I'd say he was probably in his 60s, probably his mid-60s, who told me that he used to work in manufacturing and he was really excited to vote for me because manufacturing is one of the things that I really, really focus on. Mm-hmm. Massachusetts has been...
Yeah, let's move to that.
Yeah.
Because what you had said in your opening statement is about the loss of jobs here in Massachusetts.
Yes.
And we had talked about that at the last show, it's not like people are flooding into Massachusetts to start their businesses here, but you go ahead, take over.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they would. I mean, right next door, you've got New Hampshire where there's no income tax, so that helps you, in the cost of living is lower, there's no income tax, there's no sales tax, I don't know why they would be flooding here, but beyond that, right, the base of manufacturing that we have always had is disintegrating. We used to be the manufacturing capital of the United States. We were the manufacturing mecca. Mighty Massachusetts.
Sure was.
And we still retain some of this legacy. Gardner is still known as the furniture capital of the world. Leominster is still known as the plastics capital of the world. Are they really anymore? I hope so, and I wish so, but I can see this stuff slipping away. Intel just closed, just shut down about whatever it is, it's going on like 3 years ago now, of their huge factory in Hudson. This is on Jamie
They're
Eldridge's...
shutting that down.
Right, well, it's gone. And 700 people lost their jobs, okay? And I brought this up in the debate, and I said...
That's a huge campus up there. With that, now we've got another empty building.
Another empty building that they're going to turn into, they'll put some Tony restaurants in there, or they'll open up some little gift shops, and most of the building will be, this derelict, superannuated hulk, a monument to our economic disintegration. And then some little part of it will be like, oh, well, we have some white-collar offices in this little area, and then, we have some, we've opened up a little potpourri in this little corner right here, and yeah, it's going to be just like Clock Tower Place in Manatee. It's going to be just like Clock Tower Place in Manatee. And, or you name it. Every little blue-collar town has one of these tragic, sad testaments to our economic collapse. Every little blue-collar town has this. Now, when I brought this up in the debate, Jamie Eldridge's answer was so inept and dithering that even I, and I've gotten used to the guy, was kind of amazed. He was like, well, they had some mismanagement. They didn't manage it correctly. They didn't have the right management to train their workforce better and to keep their machinery up to date, and
that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
They packed up and went overseas where it
exactly, almost simultaneous, and I even said this to him and he didn't have any kind of answer for it. Almost simultaneous to their shutting down their Hudson plant and laying off 700 people, they opened up a $1 billion factory in Vietnam. So let me ask you, Chris, the same question I asked him. Why would they be opening up their new factory in Vietnam instead of right here where they already have a 700-person strong workforce? It seems to me if I'm opening up a new factory and I already have 700 people who know how to work at an Intel factory, I want to build in Massachusetts, I want to build in Hudson. Why aren't they building here? Nobody's building here.
Add another floor to the building or something, increase your footprint.
Nobody's building in Massachusetts, and the answer is, the reason why is so simple. It's not because Vietnamese are better at building, processors or computer chips than we are. It's because they're dirt cheap.
That's it.
This is the
They also get a tax incentive too from the government to move overseas. That's in legislation. I mean, it's.
Yes, exactly. If you move overseas,
we're making our own rope to hang ourselves with.
Right, exactly. It's like the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare that Barack Obama, who Jamie is such a big fan of, and what does Obamacare do? It says, well, if you are willing to work in the United States but hire foreigners to come here and work for you, so if you employ non-citizens in your workforce, we'll reward you for that by giving you fewer regulations and stipulations and requirements. And guess what? Here's the kicker. If you're willing to just move your entire operation overseas, you'll get the biggest reward of all, because anybody who isn't dumb enough to do that, we're going to layer all these crazy requirements, these healthcare requirements on top of, on top of their already certainly straining bottom lines, because we think that plays to our low info voters. And this is Right, and this is the situation that the transnational globalist left is setting up for guys like you and me. They're saying, look it, we're going to cater to our fat cat donors who give us loads of money, and what you guys get in the bargain is you get to compete against a 13-year-old Vietnamese girl on an assembly line. Congrats. Go! It's the marketplace it's a global marketplace. If you're competitive, you'll be fine. Just go out there and compete. This is the situation that this is the edifice against which I am running, right? This is the edifice against which I am running, and which Beacon Hill, in its kick the can down to Washington mentality, is emblematic of. One of the things that I brought up is, and I'm on a roll here, so I appreciate your patience, Chris.
No, I love
One of the things I brought up in the debate is that I'm running on a sales tax exemption for any product that's made in Massachusetts. So if you make a product in Massachusetts and you sell it in Massachusetts, you don't pay a sales tax on it. And Jamie Eldridge's answer to that is, well, we can't do that because, that's Washington, D.C.'s job to figure that stuff out. Interstate Commerce Clause, is really that's their bag. It's such pathetic buck passing. Like, well, look, the buck is over there. That's where it stops. That should be Beacon Hill's motto. The buck stops over there. The buck stops somewhere else. It's the same thing when
that's true. Right. I like that.
So, all right, I'm going on too much of a roll.
No, here's the thing: is that at the same time they're more than willing to give incentives for businesses to go overseas, where there are no safety regulations, environmental regulations, healthcare, or anything like that. You're working at way, way, way below any type of minimum wage that they're talking about here in the United States. Which brings me to the second half of my point. Whereas here in the United States, they're passing more safety laws, they're passing more healthcare laws, they're putting more restrictions. They're demanding a $15 an hour minimum wage.
Right.
Here we go back to what I said a moment ago. They're talking out of both sides of their mouths here. And you wonder, are these people ever able to reconcile the differences? Or are they just depending on people not paying attention enough to this stuff?
Yeah, for them it's about keeping the ride going until they feel like they want to get off. They don't care about the long-term stability of our Commonwealth. They don't care about the long-term integrity of our people.
Right.
They want to keep the ride going for as long as they feel like riding. And if that means tricking people into voting for you on empty promises or graft, go for it. That's their mentality.
So where did this Tara Friedrich come from? She's labeled as an independent.
Yeah, she is a really swell lady. I like her a lot. Like I said, she was a select woman in Acton. The first time she ran for select woman and won, I actually helped out with her campaign a little bit because I really love, what I love about her is that she's very sincere, and she's a little bit I feel like she's a little misdirected, but she's very idealistic and sincere. And she won that campaign for the Board of Selectmen in Acton. And then the second time when she ran for re-election, she lost to some kind of insider, probably I think it was somebody on like the Acton Democratic Town Committee or so, the insiders club. Sure. that every she town has that decides who gets to run the town.
Yeah, it's what I call it. Remember when everyone was saying you feel the burn with Bernie Sanders? Yeah, well, we felt the burn, being burned by the Democratic Party, and it sounds like she felt the burn. She got burned by the Democratic Party.
Yeah, sure. And so for a lady like that, who's seen, she knows, and she does a lot of, she does a lot of advocacy work. She does a lot of sort of lobbying for her, for her different causes that she's involved with. Some of which are quite worthy. She's not, her political perspective is sort of this weird grab bag, like one of those grab bags that when you were a kid, you go to your friend's birthday and then everybody gets like a little paper bag to take home with them. And, sometimes you pull something out and you're like, wow, this is a cool robot. This is awesome, and then you like reach in and you're like, oh, it's like a Princess Heart temporary tattoo. That's good. I'll give that to my kid sister, right? And so Tara is like that, right?
Where does he come up with this stuff? Devin's over there dying. He's on camera dying over there.
Right. So Tara is like that. So she'll say things like she says things that I think like, wow, that is really brilliant. You are such a bright lady. And then she'll say something where I'm like, okay, now we're back to Fruit Loop.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And it's like what she was saying earlier when I played the piece about she's against Article 5, and then she turns around, she's like, oh, but I'm all for the state, doing the same thing with our Constitution. Now, but you had said that, you put more trust in the voters of Massachusetts, and we had already explained the whole thing about Article 5 off mic before the show started, but why don't you go ahead?
Well, I think what I'm really doing is sort of taking her side on this. I mean, I'm actually not. I'm not sure that I agree with her about it even amending our Constitution. But I can kind of see, at first blush, it seems like almost sort of a hypocritical position to take, like, well, I'm all opposed to, an Article 5 invocation or amending the United States Constitution, but let's go ahead and play fast and loose with our own and amend that. I think that really, I can't speak for her, but I think really the thinking there is, I don't know that per se that we can trust, if we're amending the US Constitution, right, with a constitutional convention, I don't know that we can trust the representatives of every other state, let alone our own, but maybe especially every other state, to advocate for our own interests.
Well,
and I think that we'll probably...
Beacon Hill already does not advocate.
Well, I know, but I think probably Tara would say we can trust ourselves to chart our own destiny a little more than we can trust every state in the union to sort of get together and agree on a national destiny. And I can kind of see where she's coming from. Again, I can't really speak for her, but she's an interesting lady. I bet if you invited her, she'd come on.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So, speaking about the Beacon Hill not paying attention to what the citizens want, Maura Healey's gone off the rails. First she does this climate change thing where she's trying to prosecute people who just say global warming isn't real.
Right.
Now she's going after everybody's guns. And it's very interesting to see Charlie Baker dance on the knife's edge of this new whacked out idea that she seems to have. I'd like to hear what you got to say about that.
So, do you mean about as far as Charlie Baker's concerned, or about the his reaction?
The whole Maura Healey thing, everything.
Maura Healey.
Again, this is just another example of the left just. I mean, it's like, did somebody have a brain fart there? I mean, she sat around at a table with her staff, and she came up with this idea, and everybody was like, yes, Madam AG, that's a great idea. We'll get working on that right away. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, wow, imagine being a fly in that room, and you just fly out of this, and I can't believe what I just listened. They're actually thinking of doing this.
Maura Healey's a disaster. It's as simple as that. The woman is a careening train off the rails. She's a disaster. She's an ideologue. She's bent on pursuing her political agenda to the extent that it precludes even the faintest deference to what might be best for the people of the Commonwealth or might work best for them. The gun thing was just another example of that.
She's pandering to those groups out there.
Yeah, leftist politics is coalition politics. It's let's get a coalition of oppressed groups and pit them against an oppressor group. And the oppressor group can be shadowy fat cats. The oppressor group can be, your rich neighbor. It can be on a class basis. The oppressor group can be white people. The oppressor group can be men, right? But it's always it's the politics of it's the politics of division. It's the politics of instead of asking of their voters and their supporters, look, we have a demand of you. We demand that you be citizens of this Commonwealth or citizens of this nation or part of this people, this greater body politic. They say, what are your demands? We will try to take them to your enemies. We'll try to take your demands and beat your enemies and force them to acquiesce and comply to the things that you want as a special interest group. And I find it personally repulsive. I want to ask real quick. are we gonna, we made kind of a big deal about, in the promotion to this about taking calls. Can we still take
Yeah, the
calls?
phone lines are open, 774-386-7714. It's out there in the advertisement, whether anybody wants to call in or not, you're more than welcome to call in. Talk to us here, talk to Ted, talk to myself, and we'd love to hear from you. Speaking about that, you've actually got some other appearances, and you had mentioned that off mic too, that we talked about that. You've got another appearance on other radio stations.
Yeah.
I don't mind you plugging.
That's awfully gracious of you.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
sure, I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to be on with David Smalley of Dogma Debate tomorrow.
And where is that? Yeah, who was
He's
that?
based out of Texas, I want to say.
No
It's
kidding.
an audio cast, it's a web-based program, so kind of like KTNT, it's internet radio. His whole bag is he's an atheist, and so he talks a lot about religion and how dumb and stupid religion is. He's kind of a social justice warrior. He's definitely a leftist. He was very patient with me in the interview, so I'm very grateful to him for that. He definitely takes the other side. It's like the
So
opposite.
you've already done it. It's going to be.
Yes, unfortunately we had to pre-record it. Even when he was promoting it, people were saying I noticed people were saying oh, I hope we can call in and talk to this guy, and I kind of felt like, it's a shame that I didn't get to talk to his listeners live. But we had to pre-record it for, to fit his schedule, and I was just grateful that he would have me on. But it's basically the opposite of coming on with you. It's like a very, I don't want to say hostile, but it's very adversarial. I think people are going to enjoy it. I think, people who like me are going to like it, and I think people who don't like me are maybe going to like it too, because, their guy is in there, taking it to me, taking the gloves off and giving me the,
But that's what it was. It was
The
an
old fisticuffs.
adversarial.
Yeah, well, because he's very much I think the atheist community is sort of split, just like the rest of the country is split. And there's sort of a social justice warrior aligned faction of it. A lot of people refer to it as atheism plus, because the idea is, can you just be if atheism is your bag? I'm not an atheist myself, I'm a Christian, right? But if atheism is your bag, and you're, a Christopher Hitchens or Richard Dawkins kind of guy, and you really enjoy the smug satisfaction you get from looking down at those, imbecile rubes with their Bibles and their belief in a higher power, that's cool. But the atheist plus community is well, okay, you need to do that. That's great. We're all atheists. Plus, you should also make sure that you virtue signal to minorities and oppressed groups, and call out racism and xenophobia and bigotry and other shiny buzzwords. And it's very obnoxious, right?
How'd you hook up with this guy out of Texas?
His supporters, I guess, heard about me, his listeners. Maybe my supporters are among his listeners. I don't know. But somebody said, hey, there's this Busiek guy. He's getting noticed because he says a lot of crazy things. You should have him on the program.
I wonder if they listen to our podcast. I wonder if they.
That could be it. You could be the conduit.
That could be it.
You know what? I think that's probably what it is.
Because where else? What other radio stations have you been on?
I was on AM 830 on Conservatively Speaking, which is terrestrial radio.
All right, now hang on here.
I've been on loads of
I'm going to
action
stop you
radio
there.
programs.
I'm talking time frame. When was the last time he was here? I can't even remember. Had to have been at least a month. We're looking at a month.
Yeah, no, it was, It was right after or right before the 4th of July. I think it was right after the 4th of July. It was July 6th or 7th or something like that.
Okay.
Because I remember it was right after Independence.
So there you go. So now you've been on AM 830.
AM 830.
After our first interview.
Right, no, you were the first. You were my breakout radio debut.
All right. So
if you ever want to experience time travel, work on a campaign.
There you go.
So Devin
Right,
says,
exactly.
for people who can't hear him, he says, if you ever want to experience time travel, work on a political campaign. And I can tell you that's true. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, you do after a while. It's like, wait a minute, what day is it? Wait, where am I? So,
Right.
no, my point is...
I can sympathize with, what was his name, Sergeant, Ross Perot's running mate, who his big opener was, who am I? What am I doing here? What am I doing here? Who am I?
remember that.
Yeah, I'm so sympathetic now. I used to laugh at that guy. I can't believe it.
I remember that. Oh my God, that is so funny that you bring that up. And everybody laughed at him, but he made a great point. He followed it up with, why was I picked? I thought it was a great speech at that debate. I thought it
For
was
me, I'm not even making a rhetorical point. I'm being literal, folks. I have no idea who I am. I don't know how I got here. Suddenly all these people are saying they're going to vote for me in a state senate thing. So it's crazy.
So what I'm saying is, between the first broadcast that you and I did, your other appearances, at some point in time, somewhere, somehow along the way, this guy in Texas somehow either heard of you or was told about you.
Right.
So I am going to say it. I have a feeling.
I think it was because of you. I think it was because of you. And you know what happened? One of his listeners...
Because if you're on AM, sorry to interrupt, but if you're on AM here in Massachusetts, I'm sorry, it's an AM station. You're only broadcasting here in Massachusetts, unless you go on the website and all that other stuff.
Well, this guy is strictly internet, so I'm sure his listeners are like your listeners. You know, because you're an internet guy. Your listenership is worldwide when you're internet.
Yeah, it's internet.
And so I believe he's based out of Texas. Don't sue me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure he has a global listenership, like all you internet guys.
Yeah.
You know, you newfangled technology, cutting edge guys, and. One of his
my $200 mixing board from Radio Shack.
One of this guy's listeners tweeted at me and said, "I will donate $5 to your campaign if you will go into the Lion's Den and talk with this, go on with this guy David Smalley."
Never got
And I'm still waiting for that $5.
Waiting for the $5.
Where is my $5? Pay up!
I know
I
you
did
went
it all
in.
for the $5.
You went in.
Right. I did it all for the money. Folks.
Well, let's talk about that adversarial thing. I mean, obviously, you've got things going on with Jamie Eldridge. Do you ever converse with the guy at any point in time? Or is it just anytime you say something, you hear from him? There's Ted being Ted again. And yeah, are you Trumpified? Every time Trump says something, everybody's like, oh, there's Trump again.
I've tried. When we were setting up the debate, we had an email chain going, right? And so the debate in Acton was set up with Acton TV and a guy who's on the Acton Board of Selectmen who's a really stellar guy. He's not one of the, insiders club. He's like just a guy who really loves the town and he's very pragmatic and he's doing a good job. And his name is Ching Sung Chang. He's of Oriental extraction. And the moderator and, Peter Ashton is also an Acton town guy. He's like the town moderator. So we had this email chain going to set up what are the parameters of the debate? What are the rules going to be? What day is it going to be scheduled? And I noticed that Jamie wasn't responding to any of the emails. I don't think, I think he eventually responded to a couple. But, so I sent him a message because he lives on Twitter. So I sent him a message, a direct message on Twitter, and I said, look, buddy, I just want to let you know we've got this email chain. I would feel like it was unsporting if we left you out of the email chain and you didn't get to reply because, this is your debate too. I'm trying to beat you, obviously, but I want you to be involved in the planning process because that's only fair. And he never replied and he unfollowed me on Twitter so that I couldn't direct message him anymore.
You're ridiculous. You're a fucking 5-year-old.
So what can you do?
You can't play with my dump truck.
But he also, I think that's in keeping. I feel bad for the guy. He blocks people on Twitter. If people send him, if people
like
tweet
you said,
at him,
he's got that language.
He blocks people on Twitter. I promise you, Massachusetts, I will never block you on Twitter. If you're a Massachusetts taxpayer, or if you're some guy in Pakistan, I don't care. If you want to tweet at me, I'll take all comers. I'm not about. Why would you go on a social media platform and then say, I'm going to prevent these people from seeing it's a public publishing platform.
Exactly.
Sure. So, but that's.
I mean, the ultimate censor is you. You can unfollow whoever you want, but all it does is it just makes you look like a mook.
Get in the mix it up, debate with people, argue with people. Yeah. Don't be afraid. It's the same mentality that
have
says.
A spine for crying out loud.
Exactly. It's the same mentality that says. I am going to silence voices of dissent so I don't have to hear them or see them and they don't hear or see me. Is the mentality that says, hey, that guy said something I don't like. That should be against the rules, right? Which is that's been Jamie's approach to me. If I'm ever feeling low,
there ought to be a law.
Right. If I'm ever feeling like if I don't feel self-important enough, if I don't feel like I'm mattering or making a difference in the world, I go to my opponent's Twitter feed because I'm always the top tweet is like, Ted Busiek, your language is unacceptable. It's like he's like pinned the tweet saying that I'm a linguistic terrorist.
Here's the crazy thing too, is that, and I'm not saying that you should be more outrageous, but because of your openness and your outspokenness, and because you end up at the top of the Twitter feeds, and that's what people pay attention to. I think that's garnering more people saying, well, you got half and half. You got people that are like, oh, that guy's crazy. But then you got the other half saying, I want to listen to what this guy's got to say.
Exactly.
I've never heard anybody say something like that.
And the half that this is what the establishment GOP. To be honest, there's sort of like been fallout from my campaigning because I'm very different and I say crazy, outrageous things. But I expected the reaction of the left. I expected the left to be like, this guy is, an awful, unacceptable, terrible person, and the things he says are outrageous, just outrageous. But I wasn't expecting the establishment right to be so incredibly spineless. Like I said, I talked to somebody just the other day who was like, yeah, your language is really bad and your rhetoric is terrible, and that wasn't some Democrat calling me up. That was a GOP guy, some insider lobbyist GOP guy. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I mean, some of these people are on the record. Kirsten Hughes, whoever the...
Kirsten Hughes, yeah, she's the GOP chair here.
Yeah, the vapid, gelatinous GOP chairwoman issues a statement condemning Ted Busiek, her own candidate for state senate. This is how
bad it is.
Yeah, I'm thinking of starting like a charity. Like we need to start a fund for people who have the misfortune of being born without a spine. It's a terrible condition, and we need to do something for these people. Are there spinal transplants we can get? I hear they're doing a lot with prosthetic spines now. I'm worried about these people, But this is the reaction I didn't expect. I want to grab them by their lapels and be like, hey, guys, listen to me. We have never given the people.
I did not.
Oh, what is this? This is even better. We have never given the people who are disaffected, who are dissatisfied with the status quo, a reason to rally around us because we don't fight. We elect a non-entity like Charlie Baker, and what does he do? He turns around and signs the transgender bathroom bill. I mean, what is the point? No wonder the Republican Party always loses here, right? These people, they just don't understand. The reason they keep losing is because they are losers. And if they stop being losers, I have a theory, they're going to stop losing. The people who are outraged hate us anyway. The people who are sitting up and paying attention now, the people who are paying all the attention to me and other great people who are challenging the status quo, I'm sort of low on that totem pole. I'm just grateful to be part of it. Those people have never had a reason to care before. They've never had somebody to believe in. Nobody's ever spoke for them. Nobody's ever been their champion until now. And this tide of nationalism that's sweeping not just the US, but the entire West is so exciting. This is one of the most exciting times politically to be alive.
Cracking. Yep, EU is cracking.
The EU is breaking up. Yep.
And I hate to push Trump. Everyone knows I'm a big Trump supporter. This is why. This is why somebody like him.
Push Trump.
This is why somebody like him is making such strides and waking people up. And it gets me back to what I just said to Ted about it splits down the middle. People are going to hate him. They're always going to hate him. But then there's the other people that are saying, I can't believe that this guy's saying this. I want to hear what else he has to say. This is why he packs stadiums. This is why.
Right.
Can you stick around?
I would love to stick around.
All right. We're going to take a break. We're at the top of the hour here. The Meat and Potato Show, Conservative Talk and Awesome Rock.
And what's the number one more time in case people want to call in?
Yes, call in 774-386-7714. 774-386-7714. The lines are open here. I'm actually going to play a little thing here. I've actually got to hit the head, and I'm going to grab some fresh beers so that Devin and I can enjoy them. And We'll be back, the Meat and Potato Show, Conservative Talk, and Awesome Rock.
I did not email any